All right. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. And we've got a couple of different, I think, good testimonials. And hopefully that there's something that you can learn so you can help somebody else with them. I think that that's the power of the testimonials always, is to be able to hear something that will trigger you when you're talking to somebody else, and you know that people have been helped with that. So I know that our first one is going to be Kimberly, because she's locked in her bedroom right now so that she can share the testimony of her children with us, because it's going to be bedtime shortly here. So I appreciate you doing it. Kim, if you want to just go ahead and share your story about your two boys.
Okay. Do you want me to share that I was raised on Shackley, or?
Share your story and then get to the asthma.
Okay. So I was raised on Shackley, shared the benefits of it. As a kid, I remember griping, having to take vitamins, and remember hiding them underneath the table, and but definitely loved the benefits of going on all the trips with my mom. That was awesome. But then fast forward, I living on my own. You think you know everything, and even though being brought up with the Shackley cleaners, I still went and bought store-bought and cleaners. I don't want to offend anyone on here. And then when I had my first son, Dreft was you got to wash your baby's clothes in Dreft. It's the safest product out there. And so I did that. But anyways, Malachi had asthma really, really bad. And it is hereditary in our family. I had asthma, and I had some siblings that had asthma as well. But I do believe that certain household cleaners and laundry products that we do use have a huge play in that as well. So thankful to my mom. She helped out, watched Malachi a lot. And she's the one that told me to get, him on protein, liquid, and vitamin C back then. And he's going to be 17 next week. I mean, he's a basketball player. He has not had one inkling of a sign of asthma or inhaler or anything. So I'm really thankful for Shackley. And the same with Hendrix, too. My youngest son got asthma. But, I mean, he hasn't had it. He's going to be 7, and he hasn't had it for that many years either. So right when they were younger. There was a little incident with, he had breathing issues, and I couldn't figure out why, because he was on protein and vitamin C. I think kids chewables.
Either chewables or liquid, yeah.
I still call them stars and moons. That's not what it is anymore. But we figured out that there was mold actually in his windowsill, black mold. And so I sprayed that once a week with Basic G, and he has been asthma free. So.
And it was very interesting because when he wasn't getting better, and I said, Kim, there's got to be something in your house. And if somebody says that to you, of course we get very defensive. It's there's nothing in my house, And so we let it go, and then she moved one of the kids' beds away from the window. She was in a rental house, and she called me all freaked out because she saw this mold. And I said, oh my land, you got to spray it with Basic G right away. And she did, and it was about a week later, and that was the end of Hendrix's asthma.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Yeah, that G is very, very strong. And I also wanted to add, she said that it was genetic. She had asthma. So Kim ended up in the hospital with pneumonia the first time when she was 9 months old. And she'd been doing supplements. And it was after her second shot, her second immunization, because the doctor made me feel like I was an unfit mother to not give them immunizations. So after her second shot, she ended up in the hospital with pneumonia. And then my next son, we found out when he was 5 months old that he had asthma. So then I had 2 kids with asthma. And the third baby was good. And the fourth one was 10 years later than Kim. And he was 5 weeks old when we discovered he had asthma. I had not used anything but Shaklee cleaning products. We lived on a farm where there were lots of allergens. And I was smashing up vitamin E because that, gets oxygen in. I was giving them calcium because that calms everything down. Whenever they would have an attack, I would just throw them full of stuff. I would give them alfalfa. Kim's bottle used to be alfalfa with liquid and C in it. I mean, if you think about and orange juice, that's how we mixed it. And
Yeah.
she sucked it right down. So we did that all those years. And I remember going to a meeting and hearing Joyce Hoffman talk about her and her son. And her son had asthma, and I don't know what Joyce's issue was because it had nothing to do with me. You know how you remember what you have a need for. But she said back in the 60s, between her and her son, they were using $600 of meds a month. And I was blown away by that. But she said, so what we did was we gave my son protein, liquid, and C. And I thought, wow, that's a lot easier than anything I'm doing. So that's what I did. And it took about a month, and that was the end of the asthma for all three of them. So nobody could ever say to me, oh, it's in their head, oh, whatever, because Kimberly was 10 and Jory was 1 at the time, and Brody would have been 6. So we've used that for so many since then. That was our ear infection thing. If we ever had kids with ear infections, my kids didn't have much of that after. They were pretty healthy after I figured that formula out. But I think it was the protein that was missing. So that is one of
My
the...
kids have never had an ear infection, Mom. Never.
They haven't. Okay.
I know. That's just, and it's awesome to say that because even going to school, you hear all the time kids having ear infections. I mean, so very thankful for that as well.
Well, and I had a client who had a daughter whose kid had ear infections all the time and had vents put in 2 or 3 times. And she kept saying, oh, I just wish she tried. So finally she bought the protein liquid C and she sent it to her daughter. And her daughter's like, because she always said if it was so good, the doctors would know about this, right? But being the mom had bought it, she said, well, I guess I better use it. And that was the end of that kid's ear infection. So that made her a believer as well. And it's just a very powerful combination. And I know that I've had a lot of people that have used protein and the Incredivites or the Ocean Wonders and vitamin C as well with their kids for that. So are there any questions on the asthma end?
I have one. Did the kids, any of these kids were talking about bulk at the idea of taking the protein? And if so, how did you get it down them? Because sometimes kids are real funny about new tastes, textures, all that kind of stuff.
Did your kids balk about protein?
Bulk?
In other words, argue about taking it? Protein?
Not really. Not the protein. I mean, Lickle-Lee, they would like fight about a little bit, but I'd put it in their bottle, call me a mean mom, but I got it down them. Like, it was like, I'm sorry, this is I know it's best for you. So I got it. Yeah.
I remember Roland saying that years ago, if the doctor said you need to get this medicine down, what would you do? And I will tell you that my middle son, Brody, was not going to take it. And he was 6 years old, and he was a big kid. And I will be honest with you, I held him in this arm, and I put his legs underneath this leg, and I gave him that Lickle-Lee because I knew that from what Joyce said, it was going to make him better. And he fought me for 2 solid weeks. 2 weeks he fought me. But he got it down every day. After 2 weeks, he realized Mom was the boss. That's what it came down to. But
and I don't know who asked that question because I can't see all the faces on here because I'm on my phone.
PJ did.
But I wonder if it makes a difference because my kids got the old school protein. So, I mean, that taste is not, I don't feel that bad.
Yeah. The other thing that I've had clients tell me that if you put the Lickle-Lee into orange juice, that you don't taste it at all. And I personally feel that Liquilee is very powerful compared to the Incredivites. And the reason I say that is because of the high dose. It's liquid, it goes in immediately, and it's got a high dose of vitamin A in it. So I'm still partial to the Liquilee. So Marilyn, you had a question as well.
I do, Nina. And I'm in the same ballpark as you are, Nina. I'm the mom, I'm the grandma, I'm the one in charge. They're going to get it down them. And even to this day, I put it in their oatmeal. I'll put it in a spoon and say, open up, babe, let's get it in. But my question to you was, and I know it would vary on the age and size of a child a little bit, but what were your amounts, your quotas on the amount of each that you would do, and how often? Just once a day, 2-3 times a day, especially when they were sick?
No, when we started with that combination, it was once a day, and it was a tablespoon of protein and a teaspoon of Liquilee, and it was 2 chewable C's. That's all. And
Wow.
Compared to what I was doing before with Brody, was the one that had the worst asthma. I mean, and if you are a mother or grandmother with a child that has asthma, you talk about a helpless feeling when they can't breathe, and what do? You know, and with Kimberly, she was like that quite often, but the doctor never said she had asthma. It was a friend of mine that said, my kids have asthma, she has asthma. So when Joyce said that worked for her kids, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it, because what I was doing wasn't working. And
Okay.
I think the key ingredient was the protein is what was missing, because I gave them all kinds of vitamins.
And see, for us, and I can tell you from what we give our grandchildren, you know, a couple of them especially, they get the protein. And for the one, that's her milk. That's what she drinks, and she drinks it several times a day. And it's just the regular energizing protein, not the life protein.
Yeah.
And
but this was the old instant protein, Marilyn.
Yeah. The energizing still isn't very good. But I think there too, the Liquilee may be the tie that binds for us, because our kids get the chewable C. We feed it to, I tell my daughters, and we do it when they're here, feed it to them like candy. If they want it, they get it. I don't care how much. We know if they've gotten too much, and we've never known them any to get too much yet. So
yes. And the other thing, that when you said Liquilee is, I think, the key. Like Kimberly said when she was telling her testimonial, when we got to the chewables, we'd hide them all over the place. We didn't like them.
And our kids, we have a couple that like them. We have a couple that don't. So we hold back on the vitamin C, give them the chewable multi, and when they get that gone, then they get the vitamin C or the Pearl, because we do the Pearl too for them. And so that Liquilee may be the better thing to give them during these times of illness than chewable.
I agree with that. Kim, what do you do with your kids to get their vitamins down?
I've played like a win it game, so it's like a race, and whoever wins it, then they get to pick out the show for that night or supper or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I try to be, creative. I mean, there are mornings where it's a little frustrating and I might freak out a little bit, but like, let's go, hurry up, eat your vitamins. But no, they're really good. They're really good about it. And it's funny with Liquilee, I mean, I have to take it away from them because they take it from the bottle. They'll chug it. So.
And Jory did that until he graduated from high school. So did Brody. I mean, that's what they did instead of the other vitamins. They'd take a slug out of their bottle. So.
Yeah.
Courtney, you're unmuted. You got a question or comment?
Yes. So for the protein, do you suggest the Life or the other one that Marilyn was saying for the kiddos? Because we do Life here.
You do Life, and it's a good protein. Meal Shake is good. I don't think Meal Shake is good because there's no soy in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion, because Dr. Shackley started with soy, and that's what made strong, healthy cells was the soy.
Mm-hmm.
So the life is definitely, but not, if you have a large family, not all families can afford to buy the life for the entire family.
It's definitely a splurge.
Yes. So if you go back to the energizing protein and you do that half and half,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you're making your shakes, it cuts the cost way down for people.
My Sarah was advised, I think she actually called Shackley or emailed them. She had a conversation going with them. And when she took Mia off of the breast milk, she went straight to the energizing protein because she didn't know which would be better. And she's 3 now, but she would do the energizing protein whenever she wanted it, pretty much. It was, you know, still on demand or whenever she would want it. And she's doing great with it. But there was something in the life, I don't know if it's the leucine or what it is. If you're going to be drinking, if a child's going to be drinking lots of it, you got to be careful not to let them have too much. Now, I have another grandson. He gets one of those, one serving of the life every day, which that's okay. But for as much as she was drinking, the basic protein was what was recommended to her for that situation.
I find that very interesting because the leucine is an amino out of milk. Yeah.
Is what?
Leucine is an amino acid, but it comes from milk.
Oh.
That's where leucine is found, is in dairy. Yeah. So, PJ.
A couple things that may help people with this kind of stuff, these kind of issues. I read a book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, and it said that when our body is dehydrated, it creates a histamine response, which can agitate asthma. And that's why, like, when kids go out in the cold, when it, you know, it's real dry outside, they're more likely to have an asthma attack. So hydration has a lot to do with that, to prevent that histamine response. And then Dr. Shackley, in his little nutrition book he wrote, one of the things he said is that if your child has like ear infections or something like that, or you know, is real stopped up, hold the milk, the dairy and sugar, and the milk because it creates mucus, and the sugar because it not only feeds candida, but it also uses up the vitamins and minerals which feed the immune system. So just temporarily taking them off of the dairy products, and then also sugar. And it's interesting to see, you know, after special holidays like Halloween and Christmas, with all the goodies, how much more of all that kind of sickness we have.
Yeah. The other thing that is that, you know, having had so much asthma in our family, there's so many different things that are the causes of asthma.
Yeah.
My kids' asthma, it took me a long time to figure it out, but it was induced because they were overdone. If they were over, like every time we went to Montana, my kids would end up with asthma attacks. I mean, bad ones. And my mom would always say, "Oh, you got to get out of Wisconsin. You're going to end up killing your kids if you stay in there." And I couldn't. I said, "No, Mom. Every time I come to Montana is when they get sick." And then I found out that I have a brother that has asthma as well. My grandfather had asthma. It's very strong in our family, but his was induced by when he was overdone. So that made sense because I'd go to Montana. My kids didn't get their nap. So them being overtired, of course, they had the weakness of the asthma. And then there's allergy-induced asthma. There's, like, I would go to the doctor if I knew that if you didn't get an asthma treatment or taking the asthma taken care of right away, it would turn into pneumonia. With Kimberly especially. And I would go in, no, this is the asthma. And I'm like, no, this is pneumonia. No, it's asthma. You know, I go back and forth with the doctor. A mother knows their own children. And so many times I'd have to say, please just give me some antibiotic because I know it's pneumonia. But they wouldn't unless they did the x-ray. And then they'd come back and it's like, oh, you're right. She does have the beginning of asthma in there. So
I want to ask about 2 more Shaklee products in relation to all this. What about like the Optiflora Pearl or the Optiflora DI, the probiotic? And what about the children's Incredivites with the lactoferrin? Have those been helpful with, you know, I don't know if
they have those products then, PJ.
Yeah.
We didn't have those products. So I believe strongly in the probiotics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do they need them? I think all kids need them today.
Mm-hmm. I have a grandson who, when he was younger, he was real croupy and he was agitated and ADHD. I'm just running all over the place.
See?
And about a week after he was put on the Incredivites, he calmed down. All his sinuses cleared up, and he was just a different kid. He was just so settled and happier.
See, you're dealing with a bunch of different things there that I think the Incredivites would definitely be better than the Liquid.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no, the stress nutrients, it's got B's in it, but there's no vitamin C in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we always did extra C, and there's no calcium in it.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
I have a question, one more question though. Did you do the Liquid on a daily basis or mostly when the Liquid was every day?
Every day it was protein, Liquid, and C. Protein,
Okay,
Liquid, and C.
I also know, I don't think, especially when you have children that have these added issues, because I have half of my grandchildren have asthma. They have been diagnosed with asthma. 3 of my children were diagnosed with asthma. We never had to do the breathing treatments. My grandchildren do, or did, or occasionally do. And when they do get sick, we haven't been doing the Liquid with them, which, believe me, after this, we're going to start incorporating that because the mamas take it, so they have it on hand.
Yeah.
But when they're sick, we sometimes double up and occasionally have tripled up on the chewable multi for the kids. So, you know, if you're giving them the Liquid and the chewable, maybe not at the same time in the day, but at different times, I still don't see any harm in that. And they're getting a good blend of all those good nutrients.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
The thing that I gave my kids all kinds of vitamins, and they still had their asthma. And that's why I believe, I mean, it took a month, and all 3 of them at the same time, that was the end of it, and they never had it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we have tons of different amazing products, you know, and back in the day, we didn't have as many. But still, that worked then. I'm sure it'll work today. I think that the probiotics are super important. The more you give them, the healthier they're going to be. So
There's another factor that we've not mentioned. When I was an elementary school teacher, one of the things I saw as a correlation with asthma that rang true with a lot of my students, and I'm not saying this is the case with anybody here, but a lot of the kids that had asthma had parents that smoked. And, you know, of course, the air quality in the home was affected. So, in one year I had 8 kids with asthma, and all 8 kids had parents that smoked.
yeah,
So
I used to smoke.
yeah.
So, but I have a grandfather that had really bad asthma, and I had a brother that had horrific asthma. So I know that it was in our genetics. So, okay, hopefully that's given you some help on asthma. I want to, for this, the other part here, I had somebody that was going to talk about MS tonight, but she's sick, so she's not able to. So I thought what I would do is I did a live video. I think it was this week. Kim and I did a live video with a client of mine who came in that was super excited about the metabolic boost. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to share that live video with you quick. That'd be a fun way of, because I couldn't get her to come here, but that would be a fun way to share a second testimonial, okay? So here we go. I'm going to shut my, tell me if you can hear me right, okay? Just shake your head. Yes, Courtney, you're on the top of my screen after I start this, okay? Just shake your head if you can hear it.
Come to you today with somebody who is a very dear friend of mine, and she has been a client for years. But we're here to have some fun, and we're going to have to adjust this. I think we have to go on my knee, or we have to give Pat a step. Oh, here, let's do this. We have to calm ourselves first here because she's never done this before. So we're going to first do a. Whoops, I'm missing. I can't miss you. Okay, here. I just wanted Kat to come on here because she has heard me talk about the metabolic foods, and you've been a Shaka customer for how many years, Kat? At least 39, right? Well, it could be 39. Long time. Yeah, long time. Yeah. But she has used all of her products safely for all of those years. Yeah. And with the 180, you did the 180 before? Yeah. And you did really well, and you lost a bunch of weight, and you've been doing exercising, and yeah, right? That went with it. Yeah. So now what happened? What were you just sharing with me? Well, over the last year, I probably had picked up about 10 pounds. And I was, oh, well, did I hit that? Anyway, but can I interject something there? No. When you said over the year, I gained about 10 pounds, and that is the normal, what most people, that is normal out there. When we start getting a little older, and I think it's after you hit that 35, 36 mark, that it's very easy for you to gain those 10 extra pounds a year. Yeah, it is, and I think, well, I'm doing pretty good, and I'll just have this extra piece of bread or the extra, and you find yourself doing it more and more. And but you worked out. You didn't quit working out. No, I still went for my exercise times, and but of late it just seems like another half a pound, another over maybe. So I said, I think I need to go back to my 180, and I've taken the tablets, and first week, I don't think there was anything other than Thanksgiving came in and Thanksgiving came in. But now, in this last week especially, I probably was down 2 pounds from the week before. So I'm thinking, oh, yeah, this is going to be so nice. Yeah. So I've stuck with that, and I don't know what next week will bring, but I feel confident that it will continue. It will continue, right? It will continue, and I was so excited to have you share that because, I did that. I went back. I've drank the 180 for umpteen years. Sorry, I've drank the 180 since it came out as well, every single day, and I've done a metabolic boost in the morning every single day, and I did the same thing. And I know those of you who have watched in the past have seen that I was super excited because I thought, okay, I've been taking it all along. So I started doing 2 at each meal. But people who have not been 2 at each meal, I've been saying, try it with 1, 1, and 1. And I was so excited for you to share that this morning that's the only difference you're making. It is. Yes. Yes. You still watch what you eat. You can't eat garbage and have, I don't eat garbage, all the snacks. So this has to be working because it wasn't, I always went up another half a pound, and now I'm not, and I'm dropping. So yeah. And the guy at the gym pointed that out too. So here. Sorry. I forget that I'm interviewing somebody a head length shorter than vertically challenged. That's all. So I think that metabolic boost is, I'm so excited because it's been in my hands all this. How many years ago was that? It has to be I think 5 or 6. But did they have a metabolic boost before 180, you know? Well, they had the glucose regulation. Oh, okay. So that's a little bit different. Okay. But the metabolic boost, yeah. So it's exciting, and we just wanted to share it because when I start hearing stories that it's working for other people besides myself, I want to be able to share that. So, hi, Sharon. Have an awesome day.
So I wanted to share that. And she was so cute. She went downstairs afterwards to Kimberly, and she says, oh, now people are going to ask me to sign autographs. She's 70 some years old. She's been a client for a long time. She loves, loves, loves Shackley. And I wanted to share that. My daughter-in-law said to me this week, she goes, Mom, are you losing weight again? And I said, well, I think I'm losing some because I'm not going to broadcast it until it's really, you can see it. But it's by just adding that metabolic boost 3 times a day. And I'm doing 2 of them 3 times a day. So, because I know my metabolism is screwed up. So anyways, I wanted to make that my second testimonial for tonight. So any questions on that?
What is the difference between the metabolic boost versus the glucose regulation?
There's an ingredient that's in the glucose regulation that's in the metabolic boost, but there's a lot more that's in the metabolic boost that's not in the glucose regulation.
So you take 2 of them 3 times a day, you said? Okay. You know, I couldn't understand what the lady was saying. Could you just briefly?
All she did was she added 1, 1, and 1. So she added the glucose or the metabolic boost, 1 of them 3 times a day. So
And what were her results? What were her results?
So she's super excited because in her first week she's lost 2 pounds. She's not doing the whole 180 diet the way that we know it to be. She's just adding the metabolic boost. She drinks a protein every single day, and she eats healthy. So, and that's basically what I've been doing too. So I have to share one other quick snippet and then we're done. I got a call from a client today. Actually, I got a call from him last night and he was all up in the air because he has ulcerative colitis and he didn't want to spend the $500 a month on, I have to mute you, Miriam, because there's always a feedback. He didn't want to do the $500 a month for this medication for ulcerative colitis. It has to come out of his pocket. So he called me, he says, what do I need to do? So of course I went and looked up testimonials and I saw great testimonials for using Vivix and Vivix probiotics. After the call last week, I had him do the DI and the Omega. Those 3 things I added on top of the other stuff he was doing. And so he gets his box and he calls, and it's my brother-in-law. I have to tell you this. He calls and he goes, I got this whole box of stuff. What do you expect of me? I'm doing 18 different bottles of stuff a day now. And I says, you're not doing 18 bottles of Shackley. And he goes, well, with all the medications and everything else I'm taking, it's 18 pills a day. I have to get up a half an hour earlier. And I said, well, if you want, you can send it back. We only sent him 3 that time. And that's just the way he talks. Anyways, he called me later today because I sent him a text then. And I said, I just wanted to let you know that if you're really upset with everything, go ahead and send it back. Shackley has a 100% satisfaction guarantee. We want satisfied customers. And he said, well, I just got off the phone with the doctor's nurse. I said, oh, so what'd you find? They wanted to put him on medication last time for diabetes. And she said, wow, your A1C is down. And then she said, wow, your prostate numbers are really good. So he's been on the supplemento and the zinc. And then what was the other thing she said? Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I said, so now does that make you think that what you're doing is helping? He goes, yeah. He said, I'm going to keep it all. I said, wait till and he's on stuff because he had a valve replacement. He had some major heart surgery. So he's on medication, and I guess he has to be on the rest of his life for that. But I said, you wait and see. When you get on the Vivix and you get on the Omegas, maybe some other stuff will improve too. But he sent me a picture of his whole round of medication. So, anyways.
Nina, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
My friend is she's been trying to ask a question, but I don't know, maybe you need to unmute her.
Okay. Yep. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
You're on, Stephanie. See if I can hear you.
Hey, can you? Hey, this is Joel, Stephanie's husband. Can you guys hear me?
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Stephanie doesn't have this deep of a voice, although that might be
I'm like,
interesting.
okay, I thought she said Stephanie.
Okay, so here's the deal. I kind of got in the call just a tad late, maybe like 5 minutes behind. I caught the majority of it, but I had asthma as a kid, pretty severely, and I ended up growing out of it. But, as a kid, there were multiple times when I had asthma attacks and I would have to go to the hospital. Now, I did not grow up in a smoking household. However, the people across the road where I used to play all the time, or my grandparents smoked, and that would trigger it for sure. My question would be, is it that you're stating that a probiotic or that protein has something to do with decreasing the chances of somebody having an asthma attack, especially in children? Is that what the statement is there with the protein?
What my statement would be, and this comes from Dr. Shackley, is we don't treat disease, we build healthy cells. So what the protein does is it's the number one thing that rebuilds healthy cells, and then you've got to feed those cells. And through the years, we've learned that there's different things that help with different ailments. Can we make those claims? Absolutely not. But body's an amazing machine if it's given what it needs.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
That answered your question, or?
That's a politically correct, wonderful answer. I'm just curious about the scientific side of it. It's okay. I mean, I'm new to this, and there's lots to learn. I'm just open-minded and curious, and being someone that came from having asthma as a child, I'm just wondering, what can I use with a potential somebody that has asthma really bad that I may be friends with or may know or whatever, and say, hey, this is showing that, if you use this particular protein or whatever, it has helped in the past. And those testimonials are good, but I'm just curious,
You must be a detail person.
Oh, buddy. And I'm a data and statistics.
Yes, I can tell that right away. But let me share another story with you that I had a friend of mine who was, I don't remember, she was in her 30s someplace, and she had asthma really bad. And we started her on her basics because you start from a cellular level always. And so she started on 5 products with the protein. And within a month and a half, her asthma was gone. I think it was a month. And her husband said, it's not that stuff. Because we took the carpet out of the house. No, we got rid of the cats. That's what it was first. And she said, oh, you're right. So she quit taking all of her Shackley, and her asthma came back with a vengeance. She started back on the product. And her asthma went away again a month later. And her husband said, it's not that stuff. We took out the carpets out of the house. And she said, oh, you're right. We did take out the carpet. So she quit everything again. Guess what happened?
Came back.
Her asthma came back again. And she said, you know what? She said, I stayed with it, and we have carpet back in our house, and we have cats back again. So it was not taking that stuff away. So your body is an amazing machine if it's given what it needs to heal itself.
Yeah, that's a super good one.
That's not science, I'm sorry, but it's proof. Well, number one, your Dr. Shackley always said your cells are made of protein, vitamins, and minerals.
Right. Well, I mean, scientifically, you're boosting your cells, so there is science to it. Yes. Okay. But at the same time, that's a great testimony. That's interesting. I like that.
And
thank you.
The longer you're around, the more stories you'll hear like that. Because there's nothing like this out there. I have somebody that I just started sharing some stories with, and he's just blown away at the health benefits that people get with Shackley because he'd never
Yeah,
had anything
well,
to do with it.
I wouldn't be involved if I didn't believe in the product. I mean, we use it and have used it for multiple years, and it does absolutely do really good things. I haven't had to use it for asthma. I grew out of it at, roughly, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, but that was just, the fortunate way that things went for me. But other stuff, just illness or just general, we work out a lot. We're very physically active. I use a lot of the products for recovery and just for mobility, and it all works excellent. So
Yeah.
I believe in the products for sure.
You know what? I have to share another quick story with you, and then I think we got to go. There was a nutritionist from Rhode Island. She was a friend of Rich and Debbie Diorio, and they were all excited, and they shared Shackley with her, and she worked for the state of Rhode Island. She was a nutritionist for the state of Rhode Island, and she could not believe some of the stuff that they were telling her. So she got really up in the air, and she was going to do her thing. And so she got a hold of Shackley Corporate. And she said, you've got people out here that are saying all kinds of stuff that Shackley supposedly does. And I can't believe it's true. I would like to have papers of that. This is before internet time. And she said that it took almost a month. She became a coordinator, I know, and I don't know what her story is today, but I know back then she became a coordinator. There came 2 big boxes of science from Shackley that were mailed to her. And she was so blown away by that. She said, I've never seen anything like this before. So when I think back on stuff like that, the integrity of this company is so huge. And the proof is in the pudding all the time. The products work, right? So if you're a science guy, you can get a hold of the science and you can get your ears full.
Nina, there's a relatively new, this might help Joel a little bit too. There's a relatively new field of genetics. It's called epigenetics. And what it says is that our genes have switches, even if we inherit the tendency to have something like asthma, that we have switches on our genes, that some of them are protective and some of them cause harm if they're turned the wrong way. And if we are not getting nutritionally what we need, then the protective genes can be turned off and the negative switches can be turned on, which can initiate or accelerate health problems. And so this is a relatively new field, but if you just give yourself the basic nutrition that you really need, you can do a lot to control those switches. Just because you inherited something doesn't mean you're for sure going to get it. It's like they say, genetics loads the gun, but diet and lifestyle pull the trigger. And I would say supplementation too, good supplementation.
And Joyce Hoffman said that at that talk years ago. She said, we have heavy genetics for asthma in our family, but your body can overcome those genetics. So, I mean, this is a new study now, but she had seen that for years already, having been in Shackley. So, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your input and see you. Oh, and Roland's call. Anybody that wants to go on that? Marion, you have something you want to say?
I just wanted you to go over how these people can get into the YouTube stuff.
Okay.
You were going to cover that.
Yes. So all of these are saved in I put them on YouTube because some of you have seen that they come back as Zooms and that's hard to get a hold of. But if you go to YouTube and you go to Blazing Radiance and you go to Tuesday Testimonials, that's how they're all saved. Okay? Blazing Radiance or YouTube Blazing Radiance Tuesday's Testimonials. And then you can share them with people if you want. Go ahead, what?
What do you need, Roland's number for the?
Oh, yeah, Roland's Zoom is, if you want to join that, is 837-256-5595. So Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody. We will not have another meeting until the 8th, right, Marion?
Yes, because the next 2 Tuesdays is Christmas and New Year's, and then the next one is the 8th. Yes.
We'll see y'all
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, right. Hey,
Merry
I'm just gonna
Thank
say,
you.
Merry
I just
Christmas,
want,
Happy New Year.
I just want to encourage you all to get on Roland's Zoom. They are, I mean, if you're interested in making money and doing the business, you know, then hop on that because it is well worth it.
And that's in
So-
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
What?
Grab something to
Yeah,
drink.
yeah.
Come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
See you next year.